Whenever a new competition gun comes out, everybody wants to know, is it as good as a good 2011? And the Alien competes in the 2011. So I took the Laugo Arms Alien Creator Evolution Limited Optics, or the CELO, to the range to see just that. And for my mathletes out there, there's plenty of hard data here as well.
And if I was better at shooting, you could see some really good concentricity.
Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is the Laugo Arms Alien CELO. If you haven't seen the review video, go ahead and check that out. There's more information there. I've also dropped a video on how to clean the darn thing. The only thing I'm not going to be able to answer is how this gun stands up over a much longer period, like 5,000-10,000 rounds, because I only have about 500 rounds on this gun. The gun is a T&E model that I have to send back, and this is just using my own ammunition, no monies exchanged, blah, blah, blah. But this video is sponsored by The Ridge, and I'll tell you more about that later. But first, all my dads out there, you guys have the most important job in the world. This year should be your year. You should do the best job dadding you have ever done, and I will support you in that with this. What do you call a fly that doesn't have wings? A walk. So the Alien CELO is a really cool gun. I like it a lot just from kind of a gun guy perspective because it's a new take on how a gun manages recoil, and it has a negative bore axis. The bore line is right there at the bottom of the dust cover where the recoil spring would traditionally ride. The grip angle is more like a 2011, which is something on the original Alien some people kind of had heartburn with. So the whole idea is that the CELO is going to be more like a 2011 to shoot. Now, that said, the grip angle is not exactly like a 2011. Now, when doing any of these shooter tests or whatever with new guns, you need to consider what the shooter is actually used to shooting. So what I am used to shooting and have been training with for about the past 3 years has been open guns. This is my main competition gun, which is a Bull Armory Ultimate Racer. And I say that to say that the grip, how the gun sits in the hand, how you grip the gun is much more similar to the 2011s that we are comparing against. So the 2011s, when I get to the range, have a natural advantage just based on my own technique and understanding of how to manage a gun with these kinds of ergonomics and this kind of trigger, because the CELO does have a hinged trigger, and while it is an excellent hinged trigger, like it is a 3.3 pound trigger, but you would never guess it if I put it in your hands. It's an amazing trigger, but it's not quite the same. And really where the difference sort of manifests is there's no manual safeties, and how your thumb kind of lands behind the pistol is just a little bit different from what I'm used to with 2011s. So getting all my excuses out of the way, let's hit the range. So first thing I did on the range was take the gun out and just run it with a high-speed camera and see how the gun is moving in recoil. And it's not just the CELO that was tested, it was a couple other guns too. I had the Masterpiece Arms DS9 Hybrid, which has an aluminum grip, the DS9 LOK, that's their limited optics gun with a steel grip and one of the more aggressive grips that I've encountered. But I also threw it against the Shadow 2 and the Staccato XC. So let's look at how these guns move in recoil. So I started with the Alien, and the Alien is very, very stable, and the muzzle climb, I mean, the gun basically doesn't rotate, and you can see just very gentle lift and a little bit of bobble as I return the gun. I have no doubt that as I learn to shoot a gun like this, that I would be able to tune out through my grip some of the oscillation that you're seeing. The gun is very well balanced, and it is just super stable at speed. The next gun up is the Masterpiece Arms with the aluminum grip module. I have one of the more aggressive, the most aggressive grip module on the DS9 that Masterpiece currently makes. You can see that it is stable with just a little bit of oscillation. I don't shoot at a target when I'm doing these rapid fire tests, which I probably should start doing because I'm probably not returning the gun quite to the same point I would as if I had a hard focus. But you can see that it's plenty stable at speed to be roughly the same weight. The LOC is the biggest boy in the batch at over 50 ounces with that steel grip that it has, but you can see just how stable that extra weight in the grip is, and the LOC is way more balanced than most aluminum gripped 2011s, to the point where I would probably say that you need a gun that balances like this. If you're going to go out to 5 inches, then probably about 50 ounces with a lot of weight in the grip is the right way to look at the gun, because you can see just how stable that gun is. The Shadow 2, because you guys asked to see Shadow 2s a lot, it is, you know, a muzzle heavy gun. It also similarly has a forward weight bias and it has about the same lift, honestly, as the 2011s. The Shadow 2 is a great gun. It's not quite like a 2011, but the grip is similar enough where I'm able to extract decent results from it. The Staccato XC, however, has a compensator, so it is got the least amount of slide energy, and the moving bit on the gun is only 4¼ inches. So while it is a plastic gripped gun, it doesn't have as much weight coming all the way forward, so it's very, very stable at speed, and far and away this was the gentlest gun to shoot of all of the guns that we looked at. Just for giggles, I took peak recoil to see where the guns are, and I drew lines kind of on the top of the slide. Yes, that's where it should be on the Alien, but then I went ahead and kind of made the guns go away and overlaid them, and you can kind of see, let me make that bigger for you, that the red line is the aluminum grip 2011, but you can see the blue line LOK grip doesn't raise as high. The Shadow is the kind of same, and weirdly, the Staccato XC had slightly more muzzle lift. Just a quick reminder, guys, YouTube is up to kind of its shenanigans, so if you think you're subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and check to make sure you're subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, also, why not just hit the button anyway? And this video is sponsored by the Ridge. And guys, the Ridge wallets and key case, if you follow the channel, you know that I've been carrying one of these for the past, I don't know, 4 or 6 months or something like that. And if you're not already on Team Skinny Wallets, what are you waiting for? And also the Ridge key case allows you to have up to 6 or 7 keys where you don't hear the keys jingling or anything like that. It's just a much better way to keep a bunch of keys in your pocket. And right now the Ridge is having its anniversary sale where you can save up to 30% on the Ridge wallet and key case. They've got a bunch of different colors. It blocks RFID so your cards don't get stolen. And gentlemen, if you're looking for, you know, alternate wedding rings to wear to the gym and the range and stuff like that, they now offer rings as well. They've got over 3 million customers with over 100,000 5-star reviews, and there is an extended 365-day risk-free trial. So if you don't love it and think I'm a liar, you can send it back and get your money back. So follow the link in the description to pick up your Ridge wallets. I promise you guys, using a thinner wallet and keeping it in your front pocket is a game changer. Thank you to the Ridge for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. All right, we're gonna test the Alien at the 7-yard line now and see just how the Alien is gonna perform relative to its peers. It went first in just the slow motion recoil test, so I'm gonna make it be kind of middle of the pack behind the two 2011s before the CZ and the Staccato XC. So this is going to show us what the gun moves around like, if I can truly exploit that and get kind of better central tendency on the hits. Now keep in mind, this is going to test my skill as well, and I mean, if you're making a purchase decision or something like that, you need to consider your skill as well. If you can't hold a gun flat, all of these fancy features are basically a waste. It doesn't really matter. Like, the closer you get to being able to run something at the edge, the more this stuff starts to matter. And for a lot of people, that's going to be aspirational, so don't feel like you need to go out and buy new gear necessarily. All right, let's see how Mr. Masterpiece Arms is going to go. Got to get my grip kind of dialed in. Each gun's grip is just a little bit different, so I kind of have to find that place. Okay, that feels pretty good. That's pretty good. One time I broke my wrist, and so the second shot didn't quite settle in. I stiffened up my wrist and it came back down. But that's a pretty good group here at 7 yards. Trigger, the way the gun tracks, just brilliant. Is like glued to the target. It feels really good. All right, the aluminum Masterpiece Arms. This does have the A3 grip, so while it's an aluminum frame, it has the same level of aggression as the steel frame grip on the Masterpiece. Let's get a little bit more dot. All right, here we go. Oh, trigger freeze. Oh, trigger freeze. So despite the trigger freeze, which kind of caused me to push a shot right, I'm getting basically the same. I'm having to work harder for it. I'm getting more energy dumped into my wrist, it feels like, but that's still not terrible. I definitely, between the two, I prefer the way that the heavier steel frame grip shoots, as silly as it is to say with these minor loads, but there it is. All right, here we are at 7 yards with the Alien. This is gonna be wildly different from the other two, so it's gonna take me a second to get kind of settled in on it, get my grip where it's supposed to be. All right, that feels pretty good, I think. With the exception of 2 flyers where I over-returned the gun, both shots that came back low, they're right on top of each other. The Alien puts significantly more energy into the arms than does the flippier 2011s. But if you can make it work, like it stacks shots on top of each other. So I mean, it's not that bad, let's be honest. It's just a 9mm cartridge, but it definitely is gonna fatigue your wrists and elbows. So very different. So it's gonna be fun to try and shoot all these guns that are wildly different, with the Alien being so alien. As much as I'd love to include the Shadow 2 in this comparison, the dot died. This Vortex Venom dot died. Don't know if it's the Shadow that kills optics, because that's a meme on the internet, or that just the Venoms suck, but I'm pulling the Venom. I've just had too much trouble with it. So the CZ is going down for this video, guys. I'm sorry. All right, Mr. XC. Very curious to see how this is going to turn out. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant, because it usually is. Yeah, it's very, very easy to keep. I just had one that I kind of didn't let my wrist lock out on, but very, very easy gun to hold on target. Set up a little bit of a practical array at 7 yards. Again, apologies to guys who hate shot up targets. I forgot my targets today, so I had to scavenge at the range and just repair what was here. So sorry. We're gonna score these with hit factor. Each gun's gonna get 2 runs. We're gonna average the scores from the guns, add them up at the end for as far as practical. We're gonna leave the XC and the Shadow 2 behind on this and just focus on the 2 Masterpiece guns and the Alien, since those, it's a limited optics guns, those are limited optics guns. And let's see where we get. So let's get started with the Masterpiece Arms aluminum frame gun. Okay, cool. Test Mr. Shot Timer. Okay, Mr. Shot Timer is working. All right, so we're gonna get 2 runs apiece. I'll call the times. We'll look at the hits. Here we go. I'm just gonna get some sight pictures. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, I'm gonna start pointed at, let's see. I don't have a good rock. There's a piece of brass. I'll point at that piece of brass. All right, here we go. Okay, that magazine doesn't work for this gun. All right, that's 1 alpha on the left target that we can ignore. All right, try again. All right, that is a 252 first run. All right, so we're down 2 Charlie total for the Masterpiece gun, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, got my Alien set up here at 8 yards. Let me get my grip on this thing because it's so different. It's got a 1 MOA dot. It's a borrowed gun from the good folks at Laugo. Somebody likes 1 MOA dots, and I don't. So there's that. Okay, that's feeling good. Okay, let's see how we get there. It's a 265 through a Charlie on the center target. I can probably swing a little bit better on that one. So I started to feel it. That's one thing about the Alien, is flip and catch is basically impossible. That's a 243. That was all alpha on that run. You have to, nope, that was a 1 Charlie on the center target, so 2 Charlie total. The way you have to put the pressure into the back of the gun is a little bit different, since I'm going between 1911s, which I have a pretty developed grip for, and this gun, which I don't. I'm not getting the most out of the Alien, that's for sure, but I'm getting basically the same results, so there's that. All right, we've got the steel gripped LOK gun, the Masterpiece Arms gun. There's my piece of brass. Let's see how we do here. All right, that's 1 Charlie. There's still a Charlie on the target, but that's from the last gun. I just forgot to tape it up. Charlie's on the middle target. Time 249. Definitely feels a little bit easier to control, so I'm probably swinging it a bit faster. All right, that is everything. There's 1 Charlie total on that run. Second run was a 257, so same neighborhood as the aluminum gun. Feels like I don't have to work as hard at it though. So. Back at 15 yards, this is gonna probably start to see some stratification if there are distances. Usually at about 15 yards is where this kind of stuff manifests. I mean, inside 10 yards, guys, you almost don't even need sights. The characteristics of the gun and how they're settling down don't come into play, but that really does start to show up at about 15 yards and even more at 25, which we'll test next. So we're gonna get started this round with the Masterpiece steel gripped gun and see what we can do. There's a new case for me to point at. Shot timer still on, let's go. Ooh, 2 Charlie, I'm pretty sure on that right target. We'll have to get close and see. They're right on the line. Could be line breakers, but that's a 286 on the Masterpiece. All right, man, those two on the right target are absolutely touching. 4 alpha, 4 alpha, or 3 alpha, that touches the line, it looks like. 1 Charlie, and then 2 alpha, 2 Charlie. So a total of 3 Charlie for the steel grip gun. Look at those two that are touching. That was from 15 yards at a pretty rapid clip. I like how this gun moves at 15 yards, honestly. This is, I'm starting to find, I'm preferring it more than the aluminum grip, which I thought wasn't gonna make that big a difference. It kind of does, so here we are. All right, Alien at 15 yards. Let's go. Shot timer is good. Ready to rock and roll. All right, those are all alpha in a 289. I felt like I was just conservative on that. Let's see if we can improve that. All right, got an Alien at 15 yards. That's 4 alpha, 3 alpha, 1 Charlie, and that is 4 alpha. That is pretty close together stuff. Yeah, that was easy. That's a 278 that time, so a little bit of improvement, but not a ton. The gun just moves differently, man. I think I'm down maybe 2 Charlie. We'll go up and see, but it just moves differently. It's kind of cool. Okay, hopefully this magazine's gonna work. Let's see what happens here with the aluminum frame Masterpiece Arms 15 yards. That's a 307. I think that's all alpha. That's mighty slow though. That's a 284. The aluminum Masterpiece gun, that is 4 alpha, 4 alpha, 4 alpha, no Charlie. All right, so I do feel like I have to work harder, probably the hardest with the aluminum frame gun of all the guns that we've shot, especially at 15 yards, getting it to return. I think the score is gonna be good because I think the points are great. All right, we're back up to 25 yards. The wind's picking up. Hopefully you can still hear what the heck I'm saying, but this is really gonna start to see some stratification. So far, as we've moved back to this line, I find myself kind of back and forth between the big heavy 2011 and the Alien. I don't even remember what the scores are, so there'll be that factor as well. So let's see what happens. Shot timer's good. Here we go. Let's see. All right, that's a 358. Don't feel great about that center target. Might have thrown a delta, just jerked a shot. I think it's 2 alpha on both of the other targets. Alrighty, unload show clear. That's a 374. So that one felt better. I think I might have captured all, if not most of the points there. But I guess we got to go up there and see. Let's see what happened. 25 yards Alien, that's just by the skin of its teeth. 2 alpha, 2 Charlie. That, yep, definitely threw the delta there. So that actually is going to be 3 Charlie, 1 delta, and all 4 alpha there. Alrighty, let's see what happens. Ah, bad one. Wasn't ready. All right, that felt very good, very in control. Being 57 ounces definitely promotes stability in precision setting, so 373 is pretty good. Also, having a 5 MOA dot on these long distance shots sounds counterintuitive, but the 5 MOA dot lets me gauge whether a sight picture is acceptable or not much quicker than the little 1 MOA dot that's on the Alien, so there's that as well. Let's go look at those hits. All right, 4 Alpha. That's gonna end up being 1 Alpha, 3 Charlie. And there is 4 Alpha from the LOC gun. Aluminum frame Masterpiece gun. Let's go, 25-yard line. All right, looking good, feeling good. That's a 380. All right, that all felt pretty good. Let's go see how those hits turn. 25-yard Masterpiece gun. That's 3 Alpha, 1 Charlie. 3 Alpha, 1 Charlie. And 3 Alpha, 1 Charlie. That gun just feels more bouncy than the other two, obviously. It's not bad, it's just kind of different. I definitely would say I kind of prefer at 25 yards the biggest, heaviest gun because it's easier to be steady with. So I don't know, I'll have to look at the high speed stuff. We'll get there. We're gonna do accuracy testing next too. We're just gonna shoot them back to back to back at 25 yards right now. We're gonna start with the Alien because it's Alien and different from the other two guns. And then just go kind of left to right, Alien, LOK, and aluminum Masterpiece. Got 10 shots. We're just gonna see what the maximum score I can extract from the guns is. I understand you people who insist on bench resting and why you ask that way, but at the same time, in a practical shooting context, if I'm unable to get along with the ergonomics of the trigger and the grip and what's going on with the gun, it doesn't really matter to me how mechanically accurate the gun is if I can't manifest it on the target. I mean, that sounds like it could be a cop-out for, oh, you need to train, all this kind of stuff, and it can, but I think it matters. So, all right. All right, there's Mr. Alien. Let's go take a look at those hits. All right, so I've got my hat cam on just so you can see what I see, but we'll start with the Alien target. And if I was better at shooting, you could see some really good concentricity getting all the stuff to touch, but I've got 2 holes touching there. I've got 3 holes touching there. Everything else is pretty close. I was a little bit high. That one, I definitely felt a bad one, but that's not bad. So these are 1-inch squares. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 inches up and like 3 across. So we'll call that about a 4-inch group with the Alien. Coming over to the LOK deal, same thing. If I was better at shooting, this would really tell a good story, but you can see I was able to put one in the bullseye, but I have 1, and that's 2, 3, 4 holes there. So that's 3 holes touching and 1 just outside. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5.5-inch stringing vertically. That's 100% me. No question is that gun able to do better than that, but I mean, I'm actually still pretty pleased with that. I could probably clean that up with practice. This is the first time I shot the gun today. This is my Masterpiece gun, the aluminum one, and you can see that it's done a good job as well. Let's see, that's probably the most extreme from there to there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's roughly 4 out and 4 up. So good accuracy, 2 in the bullseye. Is that 2 or 3 touching? Can't quite tell. But again, everything is inside the green scoring area, which is good. All these guns are amazing, amazing guns. I gotta think about it. I'm not ready to comment yet, so let's go. All right, so let's talk about the Alien versus kind of everybody with kind of where I'm landing on this. So the Staccato XC is probably very similar to how this gun performs. As far as how it hits, it's just the Staccato XC dumps a lot less energy into your hands. The Alien is more energy. It behaves like an open gun, like a 9 major open gun. So if you're used to how an open gun hits and how it moves, it's kind of nice. It hits kind of broadly, like there's not like a hot spot or anything like that. It hits broadly across the back of the palm, and the trigger is really good, and it's a hinge trigger, so that's a little bit unique relative to the field. The guys who always want to compare everything to a Shadow 2 and then $1 million in ammo and training, yeah, I mean, sure, you can do that. I definitely would prefer probably the Heavy 2011 or the Alien over the Shadow 2, and I think that the performance is there. I think it's not a ton, but I think it definitely is there, and if you're trying to win matches, that's something to be considered. So of the 3 guns that we were testing, the 2 Masterpiece guns, I can definitely say that the big Porky gun, the 57-ounce LOK gun with the little nitro fin thumb rest or whatever, this is one of their new manufactured guns, built in 2024 actually. It just shipped earlier this month, and my buddy Paul is gracious in letting me borrow it. But this gun is super smooth, the fit is insane. That stainless steel trigger bow that they have, this is really scratching around the doors of the Atlas guys. This is one of the first hybrid guns that was built in the MPA shop once David Lyle kind of took control. So one of the first of the good ones, if you will. And it's still a great gun, but just the fit and finish on this gun and the stainless steel grip, like good night. That stainless steel grip really balances the gun. Because these guns are so muzzle heavy with this full steel dust cover, the stainless steel actually balances it really, really nicely. And that's what I really like about that. Relative to the Alien is also a really balanced gun, and it's Alien. It's completely different. It's lighter weight, so I'm imagining being in a match with the gun in a holster all day, and I'm thinking that, you know, my open gun weighs about 57 ounces when I have it in the holster all day. I know what that's kind of like. This thing is about 44, and I know what that's kind of like. So I'll be honest, I am torn between these 2 guns. I think that this gun is probably the more accurate of the 2. It better be. It's got a fixed barrel. But that 57-ounce gun, that boat anchor of a gun, is also pretty awesome as well. They're doing mag dumps over there. Can you hear them? There's at least 2 of them. Yeah, guys, yeah. You got a drum on that thing, bud. Awesome. So where I'm at is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I'd land between the 2. Both are amazing options. So ultimately, I think I'd be really happy with either option. I really like the uniqueness of the Alien and how it performs. But I mean, it's right there, you know, kissing cousins with the heavy, you know, semi-custom shop 2011 guns. It's right there with them, and I think with time, if I had more time behind the gun, I'd be able to exploit the fact that the barrel is down here. So I'd be very curious, if you've watched this far, where you're landing on these guns. What would be your pick amongst the 3? I realize that these are like sell a kidney type guns. Not everybody's going to be able to put them in their hands, but based on what you saw, where would you go?